On the 16th of June 2019, I began an interim ministry at McGill Church of Christ. And I did that with an intention that was already planned to talk to you about being ready for mission, based upon what I'd learnt in other places and had applied in at least one or two other churches. And I thought I had something significant to say about preparing people to think. Preparing people maybe with some processes, maybe with some attitudes, maybe with some beliefs that would help a church think about what it means to be a church, getting ready at least for mission and putting some of that into practice. I didn't presume that these beliefs, these practices were not present in the church already, because I had no idea what was here before I came. So I talked about things theoretically. I presented beliefs and principles that I thought would be helpful theoretically. Now the truth is I found that a number of those things were already here, and it was talking to the choir, as it were, so that you were already responding to that sort of thinking without any help from me. So what I want to do today is begin to think back over what I've noticed as a review. In a sense, I want to make some observations about what I've seen in the life of the church, or things that I think have contributed to this missional approach that I think is really very important. And I'll probably you'll see some of the principles come back towards the end. So I will remind you a little bit of what I said back then. The first thing I want to say is that he's supposed to be moving. This is a video. But he's not moving, and I'd really like him to be, because he does move. I wanted these to be dynamic, because I wanted you to see what I'm putting up here as not just static images, but moving images. Because why have I got a picture of Graham up there? The conclusion of that period of interim ministry, Graham began. And we really didn't know Graham very well. We knew of him. We'd studied his history a little bit, and as you do with a new minister of any kind, you get an idea, but you have no real appreciation of what you're getting. And in Graham, we did well. We weren't just lucky. God sent us a good man. And in missional terms, because that's what my observations are about, really, in missional terms, Graham speaks to us at a colloquial level. He uses experiences from his own life, from his own allegiances. We get a lot of footy, and we get a lot of basketball. But those illustrations bring the message, which is a good, solid message of Christian faith, down to earth for us. Not just for us, but for anybody who happens to be watching or listening. So my first observation is Graham's a really good person to have in a church where we're thinking in terms of growth, development, missional connection with people. He has good, warm relationship skills, and he really does care. When he stands here, you get a sense of authenticity. He's a real person, speaking about real things. So the first observation I have is we made a really good choice, and we're thankful to God for that choice. The second observation, this one, I couldn't get a recent picture of this, even if I had one, because it's got to do with the nature of our community. And these pictures come from pre-COVID times. We were discouraged from standing in the foyer because standing in the foyer was a dangerous act. These are pictures, well, one of them's in the hall and one of them's us crammed in the foyer. Because as I said right back then, and I thought it was a good thing, for any new person to come here, for any stranger to come here, they have to get through that first. They have to find a connection, and people in that group will connect with them. We found that. This is a loving community. My first message in that series was, all you need is love, and this is it. I know there are people here who are here because it is a loving community, because it accepts people. It's really why we're here. When I finished that interim ministry after 7 months, we went back to where we were worshipping for about a month, and that's about as long as it lasted. We asked Graham for permission to come back, and that's proper courtesy for a past minister to do, I think. And Graham, of course, generously said, you can come back. And we've enjoyed every minute of coming back because we have friends. We are included. Our contribution is appreciated. And that's all a community needs to be. And you're that. And I think that's an observation that I think you should always appreciate. Oh, I don't want that yet. Oh, yes, I do want that. Because the banner, which is already here, and is here because I'm here, as it always is, tells you what's important about that loving community. It's a valuing community. It appreciates, it esteems what we do. It has generous concern for one another. It's faithful. You know, all those aspects of love which are on the banner and which I talk about far too much, or maybe not enough, they're here. Now, that's supposed to be moving too, and the middle screen moves, but the reason I put that screen up is because I wanted to draw attention to this observation that we are now an online community. COVID did this to us, and this is one of Graham's great successes. Graham arrived and immediately we went into lockdown. We weren't allowed to go to church anymore. So not only was he a new minister, we didn't get a chance to get to know him properly because we weren't allowed to come. But the work that he did to connect with us and encourage us to connect with each other through the online process that we had and the groups and arrangements we had to connect with each other were just magic. It worked really well. And the world has changed again. Because of this, we now have an online presence every Sunday. The whole service goes to people who want to watch. And I might add, we have one of the best online presences. Our service and its presentation is one of the best that you'll find anywhere. Just check them out. The work that David has done with Peter and I has been, David in particular, has been brilliant at presenting our church to the community because this has changed. In the past, if somebody was interested in going to a church, they'd turn up. And throughout my career, I would say that there was somebody different at the church door visiting the church virtually every Sunday. Didn't matter what size that church was. Some of the smaller churches, it happened too. People came and they checked out the church. They checked out to see how many grey hairs there were there. They checked out to see how many of their age group was there. They also checked out to see if the church was preaching a message that they could understand and cope with. And they checked out whether the music was any good, because that seems to become a really important factor in the church's life. But that changed. People stopped coming to the door. They started checking out the website to see if the website was any good, to see if the program of the church was any good, to see if there was anything there they could connect with, and then maybe they came to church to check us out. Today, the next thing's happening. People go online now. And if they're thinking about going to church, they look at the video stream to see if that church, well, we'll have a look through the window, you might say. Look through the window at that church to see if those things they used to check out physically are there, practically. Now, we have people who come to church because of our stream, which is really good. But there are other people who we don't even know who are watching our stream every Sunday, because we know by the numbers. There are people watching our stream that are not us. And that's fantastic for the way in which we reach out to the community. Another clip from the stream. I don't know whether you've ever seen the stream, but those two images that regularly come up on the stream, and the way it looks, it's fantastic look. This is the group singing, and they're supposed to be singing. Well, silently, because I turned off all the sound. I wanted to be dynamic, I said. What COVID did and what the change of approach did was we finished up with a heightened music ministry. We finished up with singers. I don't know about you, but I think the singers add a great deal to the worship experience, but also to the image we send to the community through the stream, but also to people who come. The group of singers here not only encourage us to sing more, although we're very good singers, I might add, in general, they present an image of the church which is joyful, which is a good presentation of who we are. So I just wanted to highlight the fact, this is another observation, how we're showing ourselves to the community. It's all part of how the church reveals itself, and that's part of the mission of what we're on about, to actually show the world that the church here is a great place to be, and we have a message to share. Another non-moving image, and a lot more could be shown if that moved, but this is Friday Friends, last Friday. And at Friday Friends, well, this is a new initiative of the church in the last couple of years. Come from somewhere. I really don't know exactly where it came from. I don't care where it came from. Colin, possibly? Came from Colin, did it? Well, Colin's inspiration. That's part of the whole thing. Because a person is inspired by God, by the Spirit of God, to create something in a community which is loving and permission-giving and trusting, those things can happen. And there it is. Where two times a month, this group gets together to do nothing or something. A lot of talking, a lot of sharing. And we have people who come to church because of Friday Friends. Because we decided to create something quite passive for people to come to. They get a nice free cup of coffee and a great conversation. The observation is that we're creating stuff to connect with our community. And when we connect with our community, people see our life, our love, our faith in action. We don't have to preach too many sermons because people feel connected. I'm impressed with what Leanne has done with the playgroup at this level. That she's sought, while the playgroup has been there a long time and is connected with the community very nicely, she's deliberately connected the community of parents and children with some of our seniors generation. Is that a reasonable thing to say? I've been told before I'm not allowed to use the word old, and it came to mind, and I really didn't want to use that word, old, because I'm there, aren't I? I'm one of them. She's deliberately connecting our church family with the families that come to playgroup. That's a missional activity. That's an intentional missional activity, even though it's very low-key. It's mostly loving, it's mostly connecting, it's mostly caring, but it's all about relationships and building them. During this time, Martin also gained his master's in something, theological something. I have difficulty knowing the actual title. What is it, Martin? What's the actual title? Just divinity, is it? Master of Divinity. There you go, it's as easy as that. I thought it had something bigger than that. But Martin, in the process of developing a thesis, had a desire, a God-given desire, I think, to bring cultures together, not separate cultures into their separate cells, but actually to bring them together within the life of the church as one community rather than a variety of community. And he's deliberately built on that dream, and we have within our family, thankfully, a wider community which, you see, our churches are far too white and Anglo-Saxon, because that doesn't reflect the community we live in. So Martin is illustrating for us the fact that the church can and needs to begin to reach beyond its cultural limitations. And there he is, telling us all about it. And that's a great benefit, and that's something I observe in the missional context, which is fantastic. What do these conversations, what do these observations tell me? They tell me that this is a community which shows and shares valuing love. All you need is love. It shows me that the Spirit of God is truly amongst this people of God. You have shown inspiration, initiation, experimentation, and all those good big words because God has inspired you to do so. I think that's fantastic. The mission imagination of the Spirit of God has been empowered. New things have happened, new connections have been made, because ordinary folk within the congregation have been inspired to make them happen. And ordinary people in the congregation have been inspired to work within those things that have happened, so that we have a team of people who sing. We have a team of people who do a video streaming. We have a team of people who work on Friday Friends as new things we're talking about. And nobody has said, you can't do that. Is that amazing in the life of the church? Well, it used to be. I'm glad it's not today. These people of God are working together. I've just said that. We've got teams of people. We have groups of people who live in arrangements together so that things get done. And they're developing a trust and permission-giving culture. Well, that's what I've been talking about all the way through. We live in that sort of context. They're my 5 points. There are my the things I preached when I first came. You express them. My observation is you are the children of God. You are going out 2 by 2, as it were. You are hospitable. You are connecting with the community that you're in. And all I can hope for is we do some more of that. You're not there perfect yet. There's a lot more inspiration to come yet. And I'm just left with 2 questions. Normally that's one question up there, but I'm left with 2. What do we have to offer? When it comes to the outreach of mission, what do we have to offer? In the past, we thought what we had to offer was a clear-cut message about the gospel to people who were being lost. And that was true. We did have that message, and we still have that message. But what people need along with that message is a practical outworking of it. They need the community. What do we have to offer? We have a loving community to offer. And what's the largest need in our world today? A loving community for people to belong to. This is what we have to offer. We have to offer the love of God. Not just ordinary love, the love of God, the valuing love of God to the world. And of course, the other question is, how are we going to love this one? Which is, in effect, the key question as to how I'm going to proceed. Loving the world. Sharing the message of Jesus with all who come.